Have you ever felt the need to prove yourself to people who never truly valued you? Have you ever given your all, only to be met with indifference? How many times have you stayed in situations where you were unappreciated, hoping that one day they would finally see your worth? What if I told you that the most powerful thing you could do is not to argue, not to chase, not to beg, but to step back, stay silent, and let them realize what they lost? And when that moment comes, will you be ready to rise stronger than ever? Silence is one of the most underestimated forces in the world. We are taught that words are power, that speaking up is strength, that making noise gets you noticed. And while that may be true in some cases, there is another kind of power, one that doesn't demand attention, yet commands it. One that doesn't raise its voice, yet is heard the loudest. That power is silence. Silence is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is not avoidance. Silence is a strategy, a discipline, a declaration of self-control. It is knowing that not every situation requires your reaction, not every argument deserves your response, and not every battle is worth fighting. When you master the art of silence, you stop acting on impulse and start moving with intention. You realize that you don't have to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't have to defend your worth to those who never valued you in the first place. There is something profoundly unsettling about a person who refuses to engage in unnecessary conflict. The moment you stop arguing, stop chasing, stop proving yourself, you shift the energy. You take away their power. Because silence forces people to sit with themselves, to reflect on their own actions, to face the absence they created. And nothing is more deafening than the sound of someone who has nothing left to say. People expect you to react. They expect you to beg for understanding, to plead for closure, to fight for attention. They are used to noise. But when you choose silence, when you step back instead of stepping forward, you force them to see the void that your presence once filled. You force them to wonder, to question, to regret. They replay old conversations in their mind, looking for clues, trying to understand where they went wrong. And that is when they realize they never truly listened when you were speaking. Silence is powerful because it puts you in control. It keeps you from saying things in the heat of the moment that you may later regret. It allows you to observe, to listen, to analyze without distraction. It keeps your emotions in check and your dignity intact. It teaches you patience. And in that patience, clarity is born. Some of the most powerful moves you will ever make in life are the ones that require no announcement. The best response to disrespect is distance. The best reaction to betrayal is silence. The best revenge is success. When you withdraw your energy from people who took it for granted, they start to crave it. When you stop reaching out, they start to feel your absence. When you stop speaking, they start listening. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where you feel the urge to prove your worth, to defend yourself, to demand an apology, take a step back and stay silent. Because in that silence, you are making the loudest statement of all you are saying, I know my worth, and I refuse to waste it on those who don't. Your worth is not determined by who acknowledges it. It is not measured by the validation of others, nor is it defined by their approval. Your worth is intrinsic, is something you carry within you, regardless of whether the world recognizes it or not. Too often, people spend their lives seeking affirmation from those who do not see them clearly, who do not value them fully, and who never truly deserved access to them in the first place. But here's the truth. When you truly know your worth, you stop waiting for the world to give you permission to believe in yourself. Knowing your worth means understanding that you are not obligated to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You are not here to fit into spaces that require you to be less than who you are. The moment you accept that, you begin to move differently. You stop chasing people who do not appreciate you. You stop begging for love that should have been freely given. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. It is a powerful thing when a person realizes their value, because that realization changes everything. It changes the way you allow people to treat you. It changes the energy you give to situations that no longer serve you. It changes the way you walk into a room no longer seeking acceptance, but instead knowing that you belong wherever you choose to be. When you know your worth, you do not fear losing people, because you understand that the right ones will never require you to compromise yourself just to keep them. You do not settle for half-hearted love, inconsistent effort, or broken promises. You do not lower your standards out of fear that you are asking for too much. The truth is, you are not asking for too much, you are simply asking the wrong people. And let's be clear knowing, your worth does not mean arrogance. It does not mean walking through life with an inflated ego or an entitled mindset. It simply means recognizing your value and refusing to negotiate it. It means setting boundaries that protect your peace and refusing to apologize for enforcing them. It means understanding that self-respect is not up for debate. People who do not know their worth often find themselves trapped in cycles of toxicity, constantly trying to prove their value to those who refuse to see it. But when you truly understand what you bring to the table, you stop begging for a seat at tables that were never meant for you. You realize that you are the prize, that your time, your energy, and your presence are gifts. And if someone cannot see that, it is not your job to convince them. Your worth is not something that can be taken from you. It is not something that fluctuates based on someone's inability to appreciate it. It is constant, unshaken, undeniable. And the moment you accept that, the world begins to shift. You attract better relationships, healthier environments, and opportunities that align with who you truly are. So stand firm in who you are. Stop waiting for external validation. Stop settling for less than you deserve. Walk through life knowing, without a doubt, that you are enough exactly as you are. Because when you know your worth, you stop chasing and instead, you start attracting everything that was always meant for you. Words are powerful, but actions define who we truly are. People can say anything, make promises, express love, declare loyalty, or even apologize 1,000 times. But without action, words are empty, meaningless, and forgettable. If you want to be respected, if you want to be remembered, if you want to truly make an impact, you must let your actions speak louder than anything you could ever say. There is a reason why the quietest person in the room often holds the most power. They do not waste their breath trying to prove themselves. They do not announce every move before making it. They do not seek attention through words alone. Instead, they let their actions command respect, build credibility, and show the world exactly who they are. Because in the end, what you do will always matter more than what you say. People will make promises, tell you what they think you want to hear, and even swear to change. But real truth is found in what they do, not what they claim. You don't have to argue with someone to prove your worth. You don't have to explain yourself over and over. You don't have to convince anyone of anything. Instead, step back and watch. Watch how they treat you, how they show up, how they follow through or don't. Actions reveal everything. And when you learn to pay attention to them instead of words, you save yourself from disappointment, heartbreak, and wasted energy. It's not just about others, though it's about you. If you have dreams, don't just talk about them, work toward them. If you want respect, don't demand I turn it. If you want to be known as a person of integrity, don't declare it, live it. Talking about success doesn't make you successful. Talking about growth doesn't make you grow. Talking about change doesn't make you change. You have to put in the work, make the effort, and stay consistent even when no one is watching. We live in a world where people seek recognition for intentions rather than results. They want credit for what they plan to do rather than what they have actually done. But real success, real influence, and real impact come from execution, not ideas. Your actions will create your legacy. Your discipline, your consistency, and your ability to follow through will determine how far you go. One of the greatest forms of power is silent progress. Moving in silence doesn't mean you are hiding, it means you are focused. It means you are building, improving, and growing without the need for external validation. It means you don't waste time explaining what you're going to do, you just do it. And when the results speak for themselves, there will be no need to convince anyone of your greatness. Let your success be the proof. Let your transformation be the evidence. Let your discipline, resilience, and determination be the response to every doubt, every criticism, and every challenge. You don't have to argue, beg, or plead with anyone to see your value. You just have to live it. Because when words fade, when opinions shift, and when the noise dies down, the only thing that remains, the only thing that truly matters is what you did. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They shape our experiences, guide our interactions, and influence our decisions. But when emotions take control of us, instead of the other way around, they can become a source of weakness rather than strength. Mastering emotional control is not about suppressing feelings, it is about managing them in a way that serves us rather than sabotages us. People who lack control over their emotions often find themselves reacting impulsively, saying things they later regret, making decisions fueled by anger, fear, or frustration. These reactions can lead to unnecessary conflict, damaged relationships, and missed opportunities. On the other hand, those who have mastered their emotions carry a quiet power. They remain composed in difficult situations, think before they speak, and do not allow external circumstances to dictate their internal peace. One of the most powerful skills a person can develop is the ability to remain calm under pressure. In heated arguments, the person who stays composed holds the real power. In moments of betrayal, the one who does not seek revenge, but instead moves on with dignity, has already won. In times of uncertainty, the individual who can control their fear and think logically will always make better choices than the one ruled by panic. Control over emotion does not mean avoiding feelings altogether. It means acknowledging them without allowing them to take the lead. It means understanding that just because something upsets you, it does not mean it requires a reaction. Just because someone provokes you does not mean they deserve a response. Just because a situation is painful does not mean it defines your future. The ability to separate emotion from decision-making is what allows people to move forward with clarity rather than chaos. There will always be people who test your patience, situations that challenge your composure, and moments that stir emotions you wish you didn't feel. But strength is found in the pause, the moment, between feeling an emotion and choosing how to respond. Those who react immediately often find themselves regretting it later. But those who take a step back, assess the situation, and respond with intention rather than impulse hold an unshakable advantage. Emotional control is also deeply connected to self-respect. When you allow others to easily push your buttons, you give them control over you. If someone can make you angry, they own that moment. If they can make you lash out, they have dictated your behavior. But when you refuse to react on their terms, when you choose silence over arguing, peace over pettiness, and logic over emotion, you strip them of their power. It is not that emotions should be ignored, but rather that they should be understood. Anger, sadness, disappointment, and frustration all serve a purpose. They tell us something about our desires, our boundaries, and our values. But instead of reacting immediately, the key is to sit with those emotions, process them, and then choose the best course of action. Because decisions made in a state of emotional turbulence often lead to outcomes we wish we could change. Some of the strongest people in the world are not the ones who never feel, but the ones who feel everything deeply and still choose to respond with wisdom. They do not allow temporary emotions to create permanent damage. They do not let fleeting moments of pain make them forget their long-term goals. They know that true power is not found in shouting the loudest or reacting the quickest, but in staying in control even when every part of them wants to do the opposite. There is something undeniable about a person who has been counted out, overlooked, underestimated, and yet rises again, stronger than ever. A comeback is not just about returning to where you were before. It's about stepping into something greater, something wiser, something more refined. It's about proving not to others, but to yourself, that no setback, no betrayal, no failure, no loss has the power to define you permanently. Life has a way of testing people. It will knock you down, strip you of comfort, and force you into moments where you question everything, your strength, your purpose, your very existence. But the ones who rise after the fall are never the same as before. They return sharper, more resilient, more focused. They no longer seek approval from places that once rejected them. They no longer wait for permission to be great. They understand that the very struggle meant to break them was actually building them into someone unstoppable. People will doubt you. Some will be relieved when you fall, convinced you won't rise again. Others will assume you've lost your way, that the doors once open to you are now closed forever. But what they don't realize is that setbacks are temporary. A storm does not last forever. A moment of weakness does not erase a lifetime of strength. The pain you endured was simply a season, not a sentence. And while they were busy assuming you were finished, you were quietly preparing for your return. A true comeback is not rushed. It is not desperate. It is not loud. It is intentional. It is built in silence, away from the noise of opinions, away from the distractions of unnecessary battles. It happens when you choose growth over bitterness, when you focus on progress rather than proving a point. The greatest revenge is not in words or arguments. It is in becoming so unshakable that those who doubted you have no choice but to watch your success unfold before them. There is an art to rising again. It requires patience. It demands discipline. It calls for a level of self-belief that does not waver, even in moments of uncertainty. Those who make the greatest comebacks do not waste time dwelling on the past or mourning what was lost. They channel their energy into what is next, into what is possible, into what they are capable of building with the lessons they have learned. And what people often fail to realize is that the comeback is not about proving something to the world. It is about proving something to yourself. It is about looking in the mirror and knowing that despite everything, you still have fire left in you. It is about reclaiming your power, owning your journey, and refusing to let circumstances dictate your story. Because the most powerful version of you is not the one who never faced hardship. It is the one who faced it, survived it, and came back stronger than ever. In the end, life is not about how many times you are challenged, doubted, or even broken. It is about how you choose to respond. There is power in stepping back, in staying silent when words are wasted, in knowing your worth so deeply that you never have to prove it to anyone. Let your actions do the talking. Let your emotional control be your strength. And when the time is right, let your comeback be undeniable. Because the strongest people are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who rise wiser, bolder, and more unstoppable than ever before. The world will always test you, but what matters most is how you rise after the fall. And when you do, let it be with a presence so strong that they have no choice but to see exactly who you were meant to be.